In August 1992, a rainstorm came to the peaceful community of Orange County, Florida. 53-year-old John Stagner was just back from his work in the middle of the night when his wife went to sleep. As dawn broke, Stagner's wife went to her husband's room to wake him up. A chill ran down her spine when she touched the ice-cold skin of her husband. John Stagner was found dead in his bed, with blunt force trauma to his face and head. So what went down in the Stagner house that night? Was it a random robbery gone wrong, or a targeted killing? Welcome back to Mysterious Hook, where we shed light on under-the-radar cases across the country. My name is Matt, and today we are looking at a 30-year-old cold case solved. So let's walk on the edge of mystery without further ado. Orange County is Florida's top-tier tourist destination. It attracts more than 75 million tourists each year from around the globe. The University of Central Florida, the second largest university in the nation, is also located here. Only 2 miles away from Orlando and near Highway I-5, Orange County is home to our childhood dream of Disneyland. But today's story unfolded at this place as the victim was a resident of this suburban area in 1992. 53-year-old John Stagner was living in the Orange County area with his wife and mother-in-law. In 1992, he was working as a maintenance worker in a maintenance facility in the Orange County area. The residence where he was living was on property owned by the county's maintenance department. Stagner was a very hard-working man and did various odd-end jobs, even at odd hours. His co-workers and local residents described him as a friendly and kind man. He was very dedicated to his work and always took care of the community through his work. He was an avid sportsman. According to his wife, he possessed a great passion for fishing and hunting. A lot of friends remembered meeting Stagner for the first time on a fishing trip. On his day off, he often went fishing and hunting with some coworkers. It was a small, tight-knit community just off of Forsyth Road, where everybody knew the residents, and everyone had only good words to say about Stagner. So clearly, he was the kind of person who would go beyond his ability to help someone in need. It was a stormy night in the Orange County area on August 10, 1992. Dolly, Stagner's wife, watched him get called out to clear a roadblock. A tree had fallen in a nearby area due to the rainstorm, and he had to take care of it before the next morning. Although it was still raining outside, Dolly did not think much of it. She was familiar with the scenario as her husband often had odd hours of work due to his maintenance job. Stagner came back pretty soon after wrapping up the job. He did not immediately go to sleep. He was watching TV when she went to bed. They both had separate bedrooms because while Dolly loved the AC, her husband was fond of natural cool air coming through an open window. She did not check the locks before going to sleep, as Stagner was the one who usually did it. He was pretty good at keeping the house secure and always locked the doors. When Dolly woke up the next morning, it was still dark. It was almost 5:30 a.m. when she went to wake her husband up in the other bedroom. He was still in his bed. His skin was ice cold when she touched it, and he was not moving at all. Upon closer inspection, she realized that her husband had trauma to his head and face. Dolly immediately called 911 to seek help for her husband. Deputies from the Orange County Sheriff's Office reached there minutes after the crime was reported. Unfortunately, Stagner was pronounced dead at the scene. The community was shocked and distraught upon hearing the news. After all, how often does a middle-aged man get killed silently in his own bed and no one has a clue? Especially when John Stagner had no known enemies. Back then, Orange County was considered a pretty safe area, so no wonder this senseless murder shook the small community to the core. When the forensic investigators and crime scene photographers arrived at the scene, there was not much evidence to begin with. The crime scene was, however, gruesome. Somebody getting bludgeoned to death in their sleep? What could be more brutal than this? Forensic teams, however, had done a phenomenal job of collecting all the evidence. Nobody knew those shreds of evidence would remain in the preservation and would only come into play after 30 years of the murder. The initial investigation began with interviews. The police interrogated his wife, mother-in-law, co-workers, and almost everybody he had a connection to. August 10th, 1992 was a busy Monday morning at the maintenance facility, and deputies pretty much asked around everybody if someone had any problems with Stagner after they showed up for work. As it turned out, there was one person who had issues with the late John Stagner: Ronald Cates. Ronald Cates was one of Stagner's closest friends. At the time, he was living in Orange County with his 2 daughters and his wife, Kathy. Ronald, or Ronnie as people usually called him, was a little younger than Stagner. Around 1992, he was in his middle 30s and had no work. He used to work with Stagner once, but he got out of work a long time ago. His wife Kathy was the sole bread earner in the family, and she worked 2 jobs to financially support the family while Ronald sat idly at home doing nothing. He had a major drug addiction and often borrowed money or pawned items to pay for the drugs. Despite this, the 2 families were very close to each other. Stagner and his wife even helped the Cates family to find a place and pay for food when they were homeless at one point. Stagner took the Cates family under his wing, and Ronald even considered him a father figure. He would occasionally let Ronald borrow money and even lend him his maintenance tools. Problems started when Ronald would neither return the money nor the tools he had borrowed. He would pawn the tools and use that money to buy drugs. At first, Stagner brushed it off, but when this became a frequent thing, he had no choice but to confront Ronald. When detectives found out these details, they went to his house for interrogation, but they instead met with his 13-year-old daughter, telling them her father was not home. She was visibly shaken, and detectives could tell there was something wrong, but they had no search warrant, so they ended up leaving the place but kept it under watch. They just left for a couple of minutes to make a phone call when one of the trucks from the driveway was driven away. So they again approached the house, and this time the daughter said something else. Ronald apparently prompted his daughter to lie about his whereabouts and quickly left the house once the police left. Pretty quickly, Ronald Cates became a suspect in the murder of John Stagner. More details came in later when some coworkers testified to seeing Ronald at the local store on that Monday morning. According to them, he was acting very strangely. The detective also recorded the testimony of his family, and they also said that around that time his behavior was very strange. Even during the initial investigation, Ronald was a person of interest in this case. He had the motive, and he had the opportunity, but nobody knew whether he committed the crime or not. His DNA and fingerprints were found later on from the house, but as he was a frequent visitor there, it was problematic to convict him based on that. The behavior, on the other hand, definitely raised suspicion. So in the beginning, the investigation zeroed in on him. They kept him under watch for days, but could not gather enough evidence to arrest him. As the years passed, the hope of this case ever being solved slowly faded away. Ronald Cates remained the person of interest, but got the opportunity to live his life normally. Though the detectives tried their best, no probable cause could be found to make the conviction possible. However, something happened in 1995 that added a notable element to the story. Allegedly, in 1995, Ronald Cates had a suicidal episode. When he was hospitalized for a mental breakdown, during evaluation, he confessed to the killing of John Stagner. As thought-provoking as it sounds, he also blabbed a lot about killing some historical figures. It was legally not possible to convict someone based on the confession they made during a mental breakdown. Once again, the detectives could not go forward with this lead for understandable reasons. So for 30 long years, the solution remained elusive to the detectives. In 2020, one of Ronald Cates' daughters contacted the investigators to provide more information regarding the murder. In March 2022, Detective Kevin Wilson took over the case and talked to Kathy and her daughter numerous times. These extensive interviews with the Cates family shed light on many inconsistencies between Ronald's and his family's timeline of events. Investigators found enough evidence to finally make an arrest, and the case had finally come to an end in an unexpected manner. So finally, on August 10th, 2022, exactly 30 years after the murder, Orange County Sheriff John Mina and the OXO cold case team provide an update about the case. At a press conference, Detective John W. Mina said that Ronald Cates was in jail on charges of first-degree murder. He was arrested in North Carolina and admitted to the hospital for a mental evaluation. There, he told a nurse that he killed Stagner in 1992. The Salisbury Police Department responded to the hospital after the nurse reported this incident and obtained Ronald's confession through a 10 to 12-minute body cam video. However, he is yet to reveal any motive for the murder. Detective Kevin Wilson said that Stagner was very close to the family. He added that the family really cared about this case, even if they were the suspect's family, because Mr. Stagner was very good to the Cates family. Ronald Cates was recently extradited to Florida, and he made his first court appearance on August 17th, 2022. So what do you guys think about this case? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button for more in-depth coverage of some of the most compelling cases.